All right, folks, good morning. Let's get started. So for today, Monday, January 13th of 2025, we have the following. At 2 p.m. Eastern, we'll have the federal budget balance. That is not a major report. It's late in the day, so should not have any significant impact. So we don't have a lot of news coming out today. Taking a look at the NASDAQ, the QQQ ETF, we have sharply declined pre-market. And as you can see, we're trading sharply lower than where we closed on Friday. Also, it should be noted that this is a continuation of the downward movement that we've seen in the market since January the 6th. So, therefore, we'll see if today will be another bearish day or if perhaps we will recover some of the losses. But either way, that will place a lot of stocks out of contention for what we're looking for. Taking a look at the market on Friday, we didn't really find much. It was definitely a bearish day. Amazon was an opportunity we found, but it didn't work out. We ended up breaking even, but it did move through our target number one to the downside and approached our target number two, but never reached it. All right, having said that, looking at the pre-market, here's what we see so far. All right, so we're looking at NASDAQ stocks that meet our criteria. So let's go through the list really quick here. ARBE is on the screen, but that does not qualify. It's only up 4.5%. We need it to be up at least 6%, so that doesn't qualify. ATPC, however, does. That's currently up about 73%. 36 million shares. It's at least $1 per share. So we'll go ahead and add that to our pre-market watch list. The symbol is ATPC. Sorry, give me 1 second. My notepad disappeared. All right, I found it. Where'd it go? ATPC, sorry. Where did that go? Hmm. 1 second, guys. Lost my notepad. Um, nope. 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 There it is. Found it. All right. Symbol is ATPC. All right. Next up is BAER. That's currently up 7% on 2.9 million shares. Is at least $1 per share. So we'll go ahead and add that to our pre-market list. Again, BAER is the symbol. Next up is DATS, which is presently up 11.76%. 3.5 million shares is at least $1 per share. So we'll go ahead and add that to our list. Next up is GTBP, which is presently down 20%. 3.2 million shares, it's at least $1 per share, so that qualifies, so we can add that. GTBP to our list. Next up is HOLO, which is up 12.6%. 1.7 million shares traded. It's at least $1 per share as well. So we'll go ahead and add that to our pre-market list. All right, so symbol again is HOLO. Next up is INTZ. INTZ, which is presently up about 16%, 3.1 million shares. It's at least $1 per share as well. So we'll go ahead and add that to our pre-market list. Next up is IONQ, which is, oh, sorry, that's an NYSE stock, never mind. Next up is ITCI. And let's see, intracellular cellular therapies is being bought out by Johnson & Johnson for $14.6 billion. So we're not going to add this to our list simply because there's nothing we can do with it. Once the buyout is confirmed, that's pretty much it. So we'll pass on that, but obviously up. Next up is LAES, which is presently down 15%, 16.3 million shares traded. It's at least $1 per share. So we'll go ahead and add that to our pre-market watch list. Next up is Mara, which is presently down 4.3%, so not quite what we need. We'll pass on that. Next up is mRNA, which is presently down 18.49% on 3.3 million shares. It's at least $1 per share. So we'll go ahead and add that mRNA to our pre-market list. Next up is NITO, which is presently up 20% on 2.9 million shares. It's at least $1 per share. So we'll go ahead and add that to our pre-market watch list. Next up is NVDA. Okay, that's currently down 3.66%, so not enough. We'll skip that. OPTT is next. Sorry, that's a NYSE stock, never mind. PHIO is next. That is currently up 124%. 35 million shares traded. It's at least $1 per share, so we can go ahead and add that to our pre-market radar. PHIO is a symbol. Next up is PLTR. So that's presently down only 4%, so that doesn't qualify. We'll add that to our, we'll skip that, I meant to say. We'll not add that to our radar. Next up is PLUG, which is presently down only 1.74%, so we'll skip that. Next up is QUBT, which is presently down 9.9% on 1.6 million shares. It's trading still above $1 per share, so we'll add that, QUBT, to our radar. Next up is RGTI, which is presently down 15.9% on over 15 million shares. Is at least $1 per share as well. So we'll add RGTI to our list. Next up is RZLV. Presently, that's down 16.48% on about 2.4 million shares. It's at least $1 per share. So we'll go ahead and add that, RZLV, to our list. Next up is SLXN, which is presently up 8.9% on 6 million shares. And it's at least $1 per share. So we can go ahead and add that, SLXN, to our list. Next up is Soundhound, SOUN. No, that doesn't qualify, so we can skip that. Tesla, it's down 3%, so that doesn't qualify either, so we can pass on that. Next up is VVPR, which is presently up 9.68% on about 2.5 million shares. It's at least $1 per share as well. So VVPR is added. And lastly is XXII. That should come up. Maybe I typed it wrong. XXII. There you go. Which is currently up 23%. 5.8 million shares is at least $1 per share. So we can go ahead and add XXII to our radar. And looks like that's all that I see right now. So let me add these to our chat. Now, if you folks see any additional stocks other than the ones we already mentioned that meet all four of our criteria, let me know in the chat. The four criteria are: must be a NASDAQ listed stock, has to trade at least currently in the pre-market, must be at least $1 per share, must have also achieved at least 1 million shares of pre-market volume in the current pre-market session and must have achieved at least a 6% price change, which can be positive or negative. SLRX is mentioned. I don't think we have that one yet. No, we didn't. SLRX is currently up 220% plus 16.8 million shares, at least $1 per share. So that definitely qualifies. So we can add SLRX. XHG is next. Presently, that's up 24% plus, over 21 million shares, at least $1 per share. So we can go ahead and add that XHG to the radar. Next up is SMST, which is presently up about 10.8% on 3.3 million shares, and it's at least $1 per share. So we'll go ahead and add that SMST. And lastly, we have GRRR, which is presently up about 19.8%, 1.2 million shares traded, and it's at least $1 per share. So we'll go ahead and add that as well. GRRR. And let's see, next up, VMAR. Yep, that hasn't been mentioned yet. VMAR, which is presently down about 25.5%. 1.3 million shares have traded. It's at least $1 per share still, so we can add VMAR to our list. All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap up for today's Pre-Market Pulse. Please be sure to like the video. I see we have 2 likes, but way more than 2 people watching, so please be sure to hit the like button. That greatly helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Again, please be sure to hit the like button. Also, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you get notifications when we produce new videos. If anyone's watching this video on a replay, if you're not familiar with our company, check out fundertrading.com, our website. You'll see a link in the description to this video. Other than that, for everyone else who's part of the coaching program, I'll see you there in 20 minutes, and we'll pick up for today's trading session. All right, folks, have a great trading day. I'll see you for tomorrow's Pre-Market Pulse. Take care.